big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks again to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. If you'd like to order some, then give them a call on 01768 210 102. Go to the website mrvickies.co.uk or drop them an email, info@mrvickies.co.uk. A big thanks to United Group Travel. They're a family firm based in Morpeth with pickups throughout the northeast. No strangers on our tours, just people you haven't met yet. They've got a presence on Facebook and a website, unitedgrouptravel.com. If you want to make a booking, give them a call on 01670 632 460 or mobiles 0791 666 4174 0795 71 41654. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, independent funeral directors. Let us look after you in your time of need. They're based on Old Durham Road in Gateshead, and you can contact them at their website, darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Email darren@darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk or give them a call, 0191 478 2730. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And a big thanks to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. If you want to help the channel, hit the thumb up to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and share to your other social media. You can also pay a one-off fee of £25 to get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card. Go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and click membership, or put your smartphone over this QR code. We also support the food bank on this channel. If you want to make some donations virtually, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. We're also a podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast providers. Just search NUFC Matters. I'm also a part of the Northeast Footy Brekkie Show. You can listen to that Monday to Friday, 7 till 9 at thetooneuk.com. We've also got an event coming up next year. It's in January the 19th at the Tyneside Irish Centre. It's an evening with Nobby Solano. Tickets are available on voucher for £20. Don't forget, Supermac and Gibbo do every pre-match at Louis Liquor Store. It's free entry, children welcome, and there is great food by Fed's Fried Chicken. They're usually on pre-match and sometimes post-match at Louis Liquor Store.
We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you.
Good morning, welcome to nufc Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is the Eddie Howe press conference review for the Liverpool match, which takes place on the 1st of January, 8 o'clock kickoff live on Sky Sports. And Eddie was in front of the press yesterday. Slightly shorter press conference uploaded to YouTube. Many of you probably will have already listened to it, but for those who haven't, this is the reason we do the show. And a few unknown press members asking questions, couldn't make the names out at all, so not your usual people in the press room, one or two familiar faces, but not the usual faces. I get the impression we were given the written press conference yesterday as opposed to TV, radio, and then written. That's the way it sounded anyway. 18 minutes long. What did we learn? Not a great deal, it has to be said, from Eddie Howe. First of all, from an unknown journalist, he was asked about injuries. He was asked about Willock and Barnes in particular. And he just said that Willock and Barnes were continuing to work behind the scenes. No date in mind for a return for them, Eddie says. Jamal Lascelles, though, his injury is not as serious as first thought. And that he was then pressed to know whether he would be available to play for Newcastle against Liverpool. And he says, well, we'll have to wait and see. So obviously a training session or two before then to see whether Jamal Lascelles is fit enough to make the squad for the Liverpool game on the 1st of January. Disappointing last couple of games was the next question. You've got a tough run ahead of you now. Is this the most challenging time in your Newcastle United career? Eddie was asked, and he said, yeah, look, he says, but we relish tough games. He said, we've already had a few this season, and we will continue to relish these kind of games to test ourselves. From our perspective, the last few games have been tough. The results have been tough, and we haven't been as good as we can be. So, some honesty from Eddie. You can't sugarcoat what has gone on over the Christmas period. 2 defeats to 2 teams struggling against relegation is not good. Add that to the 2 cup exits, and Eddie quite rightly feeling downhearted, like we all are. The same reporter then mentioned that our record at Liverpool is not very good, and there have been a few cruel endings, and Eddie agreed. He said, yep, there's been some painful games that we've been involved with Liverpool, but there's also been some competitive games. I felt that we gave them a good game at St James's Park earlier this season. And if we're going to get something out of this game, we're going to need to play well. Liverpool are very consistent at home. And we need to refine our best form to get something out of this. So a bit of realism from Eddie on that question. The same journalist then asked if he enjoyed the tactical duel between himself and Klopp. And he was quick to play that down. It's not about Eddie Howe versus Jurgen Klopp. It's about Newcastle United versus Liverpool. Every game, is different between the teams. And, they've got a style which they have tweaked over the years, but it's a similar style that they've always played. We've got to be good in our preparation, and it's important that we are at our highest levels. Again, just a reminder from Eddie that this game is not one to be taken lightly, and Newcastle need to find their best form, their A game, and need to be in that vein right from the start. He was then asked about the 8 o'clock kickoff. It's troubling for supporters, difficult to get to, lack of transport, etc., etc. And he just agreed. He said, "Yeah, look, for me, yeah, it's not great. Supporters should be looked after, and clearly they're not being in this particular circumstance because the game's on TV at 8 o'clock." He was then pushed about the fans. The reporter again, and one who I'd not heard before, had said that the fans supported you after the Forest game, and he just waxed lyrical about the supporters, saying that they've been incredible home and away. Saturday was no different. We didn't perform, but they still supported us, and it went, it didn't go unnoticed. So big thank you to the supporters as always. He was then asked if he'd been given assurances on money being available for transfers in January. Simple answer to a simple question, which he's answered time and time again over the last few weeks. No, I've not had any conversations. It's a difficult month to bring players in, and we are hampered by financial fair play. It plays its part with our club, and that's that. Keith Downey was next. 6 defeats in 7 if you include the Carabao Cup. It was always going to be a difficult month, and now we've got another difficult month coming. From your perspective, how you feeling? How's the squad feeling? He just said, look, going out to 2 cups, it was always going to be difficult because those are cups we wanted to do well in. I thought we played our part in the last 2 games, but we've unfortunately not found our top form. We need to be strong in the way we respond. And there are 2 ways of looking at January. We could look at it and be, all doom and gloom, but we're not going to look at it like that. We're looking at it in a positive vein. So, again, similar questions to ones that had already been asked and similar answers from Eddie. Are you all pulling in the same direction? Was Keith's next question with regards to the ownership, the players and the management, and are the owners pulling in the same direction as you? Are you happy with where where you're going, and are they happy with things at this current time? Eddie agreed. We are all pulling in the same direction. Conversations continue. Conversations between me and the owners happen anyway, day to day, week to week. So there hasn't been any additional conversations because of the recent run of results. Is it important that in this time you all stick together? Said Keith, and he went, there's never a time when you don't stick together. He says all the best teams do that. He says when you have ups and you have downs, he says ups can be as challenging as the downs can be, and you always need to be together. So there's no change there. Then another unnamed journalist came in and asked about the Forest game and just said, looking back on that Forest game, it must have made uncomfortable viewing. Did you learn anything from it? And he says, you always learn. It was a mixed bag. First half, we could have put the game to bed, but we're frustrated because we've given away some goals that we wouldn't normally give away. The game was there to win. So, yeah, it was a frustrating watch back. It must have been good to have Joe Linton back, said the same reporter. And he went, yeah, great to have him back. When you lose a player like Joe, it's a blow, especially with all the injuries that we have at the club to start with. But when he came on, it was good to see him make a reappearance. His ability in duels and the fight that he shows are something which we find difficult to replace when he's missing, and it is something that we have missed. Any positives to come from the Forest game was the next question. He says the only positive I could really take from it was that that Jamal Lascelles didn't, his injury wasn't too severe. He's coming back, but there's no news on any other injuries short term. With regards to like Barnes, Willock, etc. Again, it was another question leading towards players availability, etc. Any positive news with regards to players coming back? And he just said no, apart from Jamal Lascelles. Again, this journalist asked about the taking on Klopp, and he just reiterated it's about the 2 clubs, and we don't look at it as Klopp versus Howe. We've just got to we need to be strong in every aspect going into the game. It's a great arena to play in, and we need to use that to our advantage. Are you gonna look back and take anything from the game that you played earlier in the season when we narrowly lost that game? Obviously it was Nunes came on and demoralised Newcastle in the last 10-15 minutes, and you just said, look, we were good for 60 minutes. We were very competitive. 11 versus 11, we were doing well. Obviously, we got a man advantage, 11 against 10. But the last part of the game was disappointing for us. So yeah, we'll take the positives out of that, and we'll learn from our mistakes. Damien was next. He said, you've refused to use tiredness as an excuse. Is there a mental tiredness within this squad? And he said, yeah, look, the run of fixtures in December, we knew it was going to be a challenge. It was a really hard month to navigate due to the lack of depth in the squad because of the injuries. I am reluctant to make excuses. It doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve the club well. You have to have a calm head and you have to learn from the positives. And, we just got to, we are where we are and we've got to accept it and we've got to try and improve. It's as simple as that. Lee Ryder was next. He said that in the Amazon documentary, the board of directors had said that this would be a tougher season. Are we finding out why? He said, yeah, I mean, it was always going to be like this. You can't just be successful. You have to work at it. We've had a few knocks. Things have gone against us. We came so close in Europe and in the Carabao Cup. And the players have had to take those blows in recent weeks. We need that ability to bounce back. We need the dust to settle, and we need to, dust ourselves down, and we need to, to improve and get back to where we were. It was next up was Luke. He basically saying that over the last 2 years, nobody's questioned you. Are you having a laugh? He said, but you haven't really been in the spotlight for bad results, etc., because you've done so well. He begged to differ. He said, I've always had criticism. It's always been there. He says, you might think I haven't had any criticism, but I have had. But I learned to just concentrate on the positives, concentrate on what I'm doing, and blank it out. Similarly with any praise that is coming my way, it doesn't serve you to listen to that. Chris was next. He says, despite FFP, can you still do business? Again, just a bog standard answer. FFP is something that we have to deal with. I'm still coming to terms with it. FFP is very active. It's going to be here for a long time. It's in our thoughts, and we're trying to navigate it. Are you close with anything? No, was his answer with regards to incoming transfers. Lee again asked him about formations, and he says, are you thinking about going back to basics and going with something different? And Eddie said, well, in what sense, Lee? And he said, well, a lot of fans are saying that you've got no plan B. Eddie then went, oof. He says, well, once he got himself pulled round, he said, well, back to basics, it's like the fundamental of your performance. If that's what you mean, he says, then we need to improve our basic defending again. He says, but we've got many variations. We have got a plan B. And he said, some of the stat markers that we look at are still very strong. He says, and we've just got to be careful not to go too far away from what we've been doing in recent years. So you won't be parking the bus and maybe he's doing a back five at Liverpool. Eddie chuckled a little bit, and he says, if it was that easy, then we'd all park the bus at Anfield. He says, it's a difficult place to go to. We need to be a threat, and we need to be a solid threat, and we need to be solid at the back. It's as simple as that. Eddie then was asked from Lee Ryder about transfers. A lot of people are saying you need a number 6, a midfield player. Is that in your mind? He went, no, it's not where my mind's at. He said, we recruited a player in the summer and we lost him. We can't control how that happened and the length of the ban. And we can't control FFP, and it's still here, and it's still here for a long time. Calvin Phillips, is he potentially somebody you would bring in? There's nothing close, and that's not close, said Eddie. Louise Taylor mentioned that Jamie Carragher in an article had said that that Eddie will have learned a lot from the last section of games. He will have learned that you can't play the same 10 outfield players in 4 straight games, and that he needs to find a different style of play. Eddie laughed and said, well, it's very interesting points from him. She said he also said that he can't win the title in the next 10 years with Newcastle. Eddie then just said, well, it's his opinion. I don't know what to say. So then Louise said, well, have you learned things that you would change in retrospect with the recent run of form? And he said, look, in management, you're always learning. Would you do the same after you lose a game? Of course you would. He says, but my conscience is clear. I pick a team that I think is going to do the best for the club. And if it doesn't, that's on me. Luke Edwards then chipped in saying that Carragher also said that Eddie Howe was the best manager in 2023. Eddie laughed and said, well, that's nice. He's gone up my estimations. Another journalist who was unknown said that Klopp had praised Newcastle's performance against Manchester United, which we know are those the levels you need to get back to. And this was the last question of the press conference that we were allowed to hear. And he said, well, it's funny, he says, because that performance feels like a long time ago. He says, and that was our best performance of the season. He says, physically, it was great. We attacked the game, but he says, fast forward and the landscape's different at the moment. And he said, it's not long ago since the same group of players were winning games like that. And he says, we need to get back to that level of mental ambition and physicality. But he says, that was the best performance of the season. So, quite a quite a short press conference from Eddie, but one which we got a little bit from. We know obviously that Jamal Lascelles is fitter, which is good news. Good morning to Les. Good morning to Doug. Who else is with us? Good morning, Tom. Hope you enjoyed your birthday, mate. Good morning, Kevin. Good to see you all. And Les says it's a positive to January for me is that Eddie and his team have at least some time to work with the squad and make those talent tweaks that can change results. Yeah, I've got to agree. Okay, so Newcastle United travel to Anfield, and that is on Monday, the 1st of January, 2024. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. It's live on Sky. All the away end tickets have been sold. As for the team, well, Eddie Howe, as you've heard, confirmed Jamal Lascelles was unlikely to make the game, but he isn't too far away from a return. Harvey Barnes and Joe Willock are some way off. There will be no Jacob Murphy, Elliot Anderson, Nick Pope, Matt Targett, or Sandro Tonali. We have played 19 Premier League games now, so the suspension thresholds have altered to a 2-match ban for any player who collects 10 bookings. Anthony Gordon currently on 7, Bruno currently on 6. Alcantara, Matip, Tismus, Robertson, McAllister, and are all doubts. Although Sky reporting that McAllister could play, so I'm not sure. Not sure what the situation is with him. Jota is back and available from injury for the return. This will be Salah and Endo's last games before they head off to the AFCON and Asia Cups respectively. And Liverpool. They won 2-0 against Burnley on Boxing Day to go top of the Premier League. At home, they're unbeaten in all 9 games, 7 wins, 2 draws. The last 2 games, Manchester United 0-0, Arsenal 1-1. Since losing 2-1 to Leeds in October 22, Liverpool are unbeaten at Anfield in 21 Premier League matches. Anthony Taylor's the ref. He took charge of our 2-2 draw against Wolves in October. And VAR, which was controversial to say the least when we played them last season, is Stuart Atwell. If you're going to the game, pleased to say that Paul has managed to send in his video.
Hi folks, Paul here with another away day guide. This one is for Anfield. If you're heading to Liverpool, here's what you need to know. Okay, Anfield, the bigger of the 2 stadiums across Stanley Park from each other, and home to Liverpool, recently been expanded. Some of the work's still ongoing, but let's get into it. Visiting fans driving in, you've got a couple of parking options. The closest is in Stanley Park. It'll set you back £10 for the day, and your postcode is Lima 40 Tango Quebec. Your what 3 words for the entrance is Blame Atoms Clown. It's quite a lot of space there, and it's a popular one on match day, although it may be a bit tricky to get out of. If congestion is a big thing for you, Walton Sports Centre, charge £7. It's a little bit further out. It's probably about a 15-minute walk to the ground. There's not as many spaces there, but you're straight out onto a main road, and it's 5 minutes onto the motorway. The postcode for that one is Lima 49 X-Ray Papa, and your what 3 words is Events Debate These. There's also some street parking available, but be very careful. There is a residents only scheme in place. Check all signage around when you park up. You don't want to be getting a ticket, but it's very sporadic. And failing that, if you're coming in on train, Liverpool Lime Street serves most of the country. There's also Liverpool Central Station. You may come into either one of the 2. They're great for the city centre. The closest station to the ground is actually Kirkdale, but that's going to leave you probably another half an hour walk to get to the stadium anyway. It's 3 stops out of Liverpool Central on the Northern Line if you do fancy doing that. Once you arrive, you're going to want to be finding a pub. You've got some good options dotted around the stadium. A well-loved popular one, you've got the Arkles pub near Anfield, which every travelling fan should visit at least once in their lifetime. However, you will find it is very, very busy because of that, and very crowded, very cramped. You'll take ages getting served, but don't be put off. If you haven't been before, go. It's great atmosphere. The landlord's fantastic, and they're set up really well, and it's mixed. You get both sets of fans in there, and everyone gets on. That's in 77 Anfield Road. Your postcode Lima 40 Tango Juliet, and your what 3 words is Indeed Mirror Admire. And then just near the noisy neighbours, you've got the Spello, which famously welcomes away fans. That's on 79 Goodison Road, postcode Lima 44 Echo November, and your what 3 words is Crowd Inner Gets. And finally, to the north of the ground, known as the Taxi Club locally, its official title is Liverpool Taxi Cab Drivers Sports and Social Club. That's 2 Walton Hall Avenue, Lima 46 Uniform Foxtrot. What 3 words is Calm, Funny, Loud. It's a working men's club set up. They will charge you £1 to get in, but you're going to save that on your first round. Good value beer, served quickly in amongst a nice atmosphere. So when you're ready to head up to the ground, you're going to be on the north corner on the Anfield Road, the furthest corner away from the Arkles pub if you've been in there. Your access to the stadium will be through turnstiles N, O and P, and your what 3 words to get you into the right area is Bricks, Hurry, Part. That's it from me. Who's hoping for 3 points, and despite recent results, it'd be just like us to go and get them after losing to Luton and Forest. So let's see what the day brings. Cheers.
Cheers, Paul. I hope you have a happy new year, mate. And everyone going to Anfield, have a safe trip. Back tonight, pre-recorded show at 6 o'clock, an evening with Frank Clark. It's 55 minutes long, I think, so well worth a watch. We're going to be back with Ask George. That's going to be our first live show of the new year. Just before the Liverpool game, 6 o'clock till 7. Ask George. Any questions you want, George says he'll answer. So that'll be a nice little start to the new year. And then back with the fans forum on the 2nd. Have a good day, folks, whatever you're doing, and don't eat too much chocolate.